A lot of people mistake seduction. They have really bad ideas about it.
It's so much more powerful when the other person feels that you love them.
Seduction is a kind of theater. It's a kind of drama, or if you prefer, it's a kind of a movie.
Seduction and love is kind of a spell that you're casting.
You have to be genuinely interested in other people.
So seduction is psychology, right? It's not force. You're not bullying somebody into a relationship. You have to make them kind of interested in you, right? You have to get their defenses down. You have to get them to open up to you in some way. The tools for that are different. It's like the difference between, technology from 200 years ago for things now. But the game is the same. It's the psychology of lowering people's defenses, making them open to you, making them less resistant. So
seduction is reaching the child of everybody. And when you were a child, you were 1 year old, what was the greatest pleasure you had? It was being picked up by your father, your mother, and kind of whirled around and taken everywhere and lifted and twirled, etc. The sense that someone was taking you somewhere and you were under their control made you laugh. It gave you this incredible pleasure. And that's what happens when you see a movie and it takes you on this journey where you don't know where it's going, what's happening next. People don't have enough of that in their lives. And a classic thing in the seduction realm will be a man or a woman saying, I love you. Like, when will they say, I love you, is a big deal. That's not the language of love. That's not the language of seduction. It's something nonverbal. You have to learn this new language of seduction. It has nothing to do with words. It's in your body language. It's in your actions. It's so much more powerful when the other person feels that you love them. Benjamin Disraeli is one of the greatest seducers ever. I mean, absolutely brilliant. He was a charmer, a seducer. He could seduce the birds out of the trees. He seduced Queen Victoria. She was madly in love with this dark-skinned Jewish man. And the whole art of it was, for Disraeli, was to make the other person feel like they were special, they were brilliant. There's a quote I have in the book. There's this woman who said, after sitting next to Gladstone at dinner, Gladstone was the great rival of Disraeli. After sitting next to Gladstone at dinner, I thought he was the most brilliant man in England. After sitting next to Disraeli at dinner, I thought I was the most brilliant woman in England. Disraeli charmed everyone because he made you feel like you were special, you were brilliant. And he gave you the sense that you were the star of the show. Here he took Queen Victoria, the most prudish, uptight woman you can imagine, and he had her completely under his thumb. She wrote a book which nobody read because she wasn't a writer. And so now Disraeli would refer to her, when he would say, we authors, when we write, and he was a great writer, but he made her think that she was a writer like he was. I mean, the guy is one of the great seducers of all time. So getting back to the nonverbal aspect of seduction, there's words that you can use to reason with people, and there's a place for that, and it's important. And there are words that you use to cast a spell.
If I were to try and seduce Pani, right, I would figure out what makes you different, what makes you unique, what you love in life that nobody else is giving you. Things from your childhood, things that make you excited, that you love, certain colors, certain flowers, certain gifts, certain places. And I would give that to you, right? I would get into your world instead of being obsessed with myself. I would get outside of myself into Pani's world, and I would say, this is what she is missing in her life, and I'm going to give it to her. The power of that is absolutely immense, because nobody is giving that to you in general, right? And so a simple example would be, we have a conversation at a restaurant at night, we're having dinner, and you say some things that you're not really paying attention to, and they're just sort of off the cuff, but they kind of reveal something that bothers you or something that you really are excited about. And then the next day, I bring up what you said in a different form, perhaps. I kind of quote you or something, or I give it a different spin. And I don't call a lot of attention to it, but to you that goes, wow, Robert was actually really listening to me. He heard what I said. He understood kind of what was behind my words. That's really interesting. Nobody ever does that, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. And as that happens, you start becoming a little less resistant. You start seeing Robert in a different way. You say, maybe this person can give me things that I don't get from other people. It doesn't matter if that other person isn't the handsomest person in the world or isn't all buffed out or et cetera, but they understand the psychology, right? They understand for a man what a woman is missing, or for a man what a man is missing for a woman. They understand this. That's what gives you the degree of seductive power in life. Seduction is a kind of theater. It's a kind of drama, or if you prefer, it's a kind of a movie. So normally our lives are kind of drab and boring. We're working in our office at our home. We're kind of dressed sort of sloppily, kind of eat the same food. We have the same habits. When you're in a seduction or a courtship of some kind, it's like you're lifted out of your boring life into kind of a theater, to something that's heightened, that's intensified, that's extra. So when you are going on your first date with someone that you like, you don't just dress the way you normally dress, right? You put on something nice. Or you don't simply take them to the local Pizza Hut for the date. You take them to a restaurant with atmosphere. It's like a theater. It's like a stage. You're creating some fantasy. We all want drama in our life. We all want fantasy. We all want something more. And so the fact that someone is making an effort to please you, that they're actually trying to look nicer than they may normally look, they're taking you to places, that they're behaving in a way that's kind of responsive to you, is actually a good thing. It is manipulative in one way, but it's a good form of manipulation where you're showing the other person that you're willing to put some effort into this, that it's not just like, oh, I could just show up in my pajamas and it'll be okay. Or we can just come over to my house and watch television. We want something more. And a lot of women will complain that the man, after the first couple of dates, he isn't trying anymore. He takes me for granted. He's not doing anything that seems, like he used to do, right? So that sense of courtship, it's like a mating dance between two kind of birds or in nature, right? It's a game. It's a ritual. Don't look at it as manipulation. Look at it as something that goes back thousands of years. That is kind of the animal part of our nature. It's a courtship, and that it involves these kind of rituals of doing things that you normally don't do. The key to making what we're talking about work is what I say, you have to be genuinely interested in other people. So if I'm in a restaurant with Pani and I'm in a conversation, I have to go, she's more interesting than I am right now. I'm so used to hearing my own thoughts and my own things. It's kind of boring. I'm tired of it. But Pani comes from a different world. If you can start getting in that mind frame, then you want to get into her world. You want to understand what makes her tick.
I'm trying to tell you that seduction is like this other area, this other realm that you enter. It's like a courtship, romance area, if it is a sexual seduction. You're taking somebody out of their day-to-day life. They work 9 to 5 at a job or wherever it is. And now you're bringing them into this other world where you take them to certain places that are special. You act in a different way. Maybe you dress in a different way. Everything's sort of heightened and dramatic and maybe even slightly theatrical. And you're stirring something that they don't normally get at their job. So seduction is something that still goes on even in a relationship, even after you've been together for several years, where you don't have to do it every day because it gets tiring, but every week or month or so, you do something, you re-seduce the other person. You show that there's still something they don't know about you. You reveal that there are depths to you and things that they never figured out before. There's still an element of mystery. There's still an element of drama. You're still put in the effort to take them to a place that they've never been to before. You never really get the feeling that the person you're talking to is like actually really listening to you and really paying attention and really trying to understand your point of view. If somebody did that to you suddenly in the office or in the realm of a male-female seduction, you would feel it. You would go, wow, that's rare. And you would almost be halfway seduced by just the attention that you could give to someone and show that you're not just sitting there listening to yourself and what you want.
The falling in love process generally takes time, right? There's a famous French writer named Stendhal who wrote a great book called On Love, one of the greatest books written about love. It was in the early 19th century. And he compared to falling in love to what he called crystallization. And it's based on this thing where you would throw a piece of wood into this mine in Germany somewhere at Salzburg, and then you would pull it out like a week later and it would be filled with all of these brilliant crystals. And he compared that to the process of falling in love. The person is just who they are. They're like a trunk of a tree. But your mind kind of puts all these qualities on them, crystallizes them into some kind of ideal figure, right? And so that mental process takes time, right? It requires also some distance and some fantasizing, right? Whereas opposed to letting time go by and letting the other person begin to think about you and fantasize about you, and in their mind sort of imagine some interesting qualities about you and fascinate them, which is what he calls this crystallization process. I mean, literally think of it that way, that in their mind, they're kind of forming this sort of ideal crystalled image of you, right? And it takes time and it takes some absence. It takes the ability to say, you know, you're not in their face all the time. You disappear for a couple of days, a couple of weeks or whatever, not weeks, but a few days. You let them think about you and you let that kind of spell, because seduction and love is kind of a spell that you're casting, right? And there's an art to it. And so the mistake people have is they're in too much of a hurry. I maintain that the process of seducing is making the other person fall in love.
Yes.
So if you go to a bar and you pick up a woman in the bar and that night you go back to your place and you have sex, that's not seduction, right? Because we are psychological creatures, right? We're not animals. And the process of actually having our emotions engaged by the other person takes a lot deeper process, right? It can't happen quickly, it can't happen overnight. There are plenty of books written out there about how to pick up women or guys in a bar, but the seduction isn't about that. It's something else, it's something more elemental. And I talk in the Art of Seduction about how it goes back to our childhood, how we are incredibly vulnerable to the emotions of other people. It begins with our parents, right? And the sense of, you know, we internalize their presence, we're thinking about them, we have this kind of very deep emotional attachment to them. We're seduced by our parents in some ways. It kind of sets a tone from early childhood, this need to feel vulnerable to other people, right? That's the thing as well is, you know, it's a lot of people mistake seduction, and that's the reason I wrote the book. They have really bad ideas about it. Well, they have an idea that it's this kind of cold process. Typically, it'll be a male seducer, but it can be a woman, and they're really conniving, and they're coming up with all kinds of tricks, schemes to get the woman or man to like fall for them, and either they're after money or sex or something else, right? And actually, seduction is a matter of vulnerability. It's making yourself vulnerable to the other person. And to let another person in and to let them have some control over your emotions can be kind of a scary process. But if you can't feel that vulnerability, if you can't open yourself up to the power of that other person, there won't be a seduction. It'll be this kind of cold, mechanical process.